everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of the Lifestream Final Fantasy Podcast, being recorded on Saturday, the 29th of July, 2017. My name is Flintlock, and I'm the technical editor on the Livestream.
My name is Tetsujin, and I'm a site author on TLS.
Hi, I'm Lex. I'm the site director.
I am Tennyo. I am one of the podcast editors.
And I'm Carlie, and I'm one of the podcast regulars and sometimes site contributor.
Carlie wears many hats around here.
Yes.
So, welcome everyone. You may have noticed that we haven't had an episode for a while. We did just put up our Final Fantasy XV review, which was recorded shortly after the game's release, and due to all sorts of technical issues, only finally got around to putting it up now. Tenny and Carlie, you are both on that show. Do you want to mention anything about what happened there?
Yeah.
That was kind of a mess. Well, I mean, just like the actual 15 itself, we ran into some technical difficulties and had a bit of a delay. Where we had a program crash and lost all of our data and had to redo everything, which was a pain.
Yeah, that
I
really
think
sucked.
the game as revenge for us always making jokes about all the time that the game took to come out, all the delays, just decided to get back at us and do it. Because we did the podcast and it died and crashed when we were saying goodbye. And that's infuriating. And then we had to do it all over and there were still technical issues and we're like, I'm sorry, game.
Karma came back to bite us in the ass.
So you guys recorded the whole thing, and then it crashed at the very end.
Yeah, Ryu was saying, thanks for listening, guys, and boom,
Wow.
podcast dead.
Yeah, because we were using Mumble, and yeah, we were done. We talked about everything. We were feeling pretty good about ourselves. Yeah, we finished this. God, was JT even on that? And then he couldn't even be on it when we tried to re-record it.
Yeah, that's right.
And then yeah, Ryu was doing the whole wrap up, thanks for listening, everybody, blah blah blah, and then Mumble just crashed, and he was like, "What happened?" And everything was gone. Everything. We'd been recording for 3 hours, and it was all gone. And so it was hard to try to get it back to trying to recreate everything we had done.
Had to make all the same jokes again and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's up now, so if you haven't already listened to it, go and check it out. We're going to try and get back to recording and releasing episodes more regularly now, perhaps every 2 weeks or so. And you may have also noticed that I'm not the same host as we had before. I'd like to give massive shout-outs to, first of all, Vader, who really restarted the recording of these podcasts for the live stream and did a fantastic job for a long time hosting, and will continue to host the Livestream retrospective podcast where they play through all the Final Fantasy games in order. And also a shout out to Ryu, who hosted a couple of episodes in Vader's absence recently.
Mm-hmm.
Or you're really Vader and you're doing a fantastic British accent.
Thank you very much. We'll never.
Yeah, thanks so much, Peter, for making the podcast your baby and doing all that. That was great work.
I feel like I have really big boots to fill here. For a start, I'm not sure my level of Final Fantasy knowledge is up to scratch with either Vader or Ryu, to be honest, but we'll muddle through. On today's show, we're going to start off by looking at some Final Fantasy news from the last few weeks. Then we'll take a look at what's new on the live stream before we move on to our main discussion topic and then get a little bit of listener feedback. So the first item of news we have on our agenda is a recent interview with Tetsuya Nomura, where he says that it is unlikely that they'll be sharing remake information for a while. Lex, you've presumably read this article. What were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, typical Nomura. Who cares? I think we're in one of those sad information lulls with Remake that we knew was probably going to happen, but we all had our fingers crossed wasn't going to when this game was announced in 2015 at E3. And we remained hopeful throughout that period, and then we got, a gameplay trailer at PlayStation Experience 6 months later, and that was amazing. And then all the news died. And then it was So this point after that was what, like a year and a half, a year and like 8 months,
Yeah.
something. And he's out with, it's unlikely we'll be sharing remake information for a while. Oh, really? It's been a while already, though. So how about you just shut the fuck up and give us some news, mate? Yeah, typical. What do you expect from Nomura? I'm trying not to be too negative, but he's just done this time and time again. So I think we should all just, try not to get too mad or too hopeful about the remake and just kind of ride the wave and see where it goes.
It's a bit hard not to
Yeah,
get cynical.
It kind of makes me think that maybe they should have held off for another year or two to announce the remake. But what can you do?
I mean, there was all that news about it having been in development for something like a year before the announcement was made. And then I won't step on the toes of the next news point we have to talk about, but yeah, it's not looking good, guys.
Feel free to link them together.
I do believe we're getting a
points
new
next
trailer at PlayStation Experience this year. I'm still
That'd
betting
be
on that.
awesome.
All right, so that's just your own kind of intuition saying that.
Well, the thing is, even with Versus 13, which is like the Square Enix poster child for development hell, even with that, we got like a new trailer at least every 2 years. And this year PlayStation Experience, it would be 2 years since the last remake trailer. So I feel like they kind of have to put out something.
But did you not also feel that way in January when they held the Final Fantasy 30th anniversary event on the 20th anniversary of FF7?
Yeah,
and then again at E3, which was 2 years after the game was announced for that reveal trailer.
Look, I'm just saying, like, the more often they don't show anything, like, the higher the chances are it'll happen the next time. Because at some point they just have to show something.
I agree. Well, that is true. I mean, I'm half expecting to see something at TGS. But since he's now given this interview where he said this, I think PlayStation Experience is maybe the earliest we can expect something. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate for the sake of it here.
You sound a bit like a gambler, Tets, who keeps betting on red and then says to himself, black's going to come up eventually.
I mean, it's all about probabilities and statistics, and, I've got it all figured out.
Yeah.
Do you think we should be concerned that 2 years on from the game's initial reveal, we've still only seen footage of the first mission in Sector 1 reactor?
But they're polishing that up now.
That's what they've been saying for a while.
We're just polishing up the intro of the game, guys. 2 years after it was announced.
Yeah, we're almost done with the first opening bombing mission, which unless the bombing mission maybe takes up the entirety of the game, I don't know, or the part 1, whatever.
Well, I think this is probably related to the next point, which I was going to bring up, which is about the development of the remake having recently switched from external with a company called CyberConnect 2 to internal Square Enix in-house. Tets, what do you think about that?
The thing about that is I kind of expected them to kind of do it mostly internally from the very beginning. So I'm not really too concerned about the fact that they're doing it internally. But of course, there's the whole thing, like, what does it do to the development schedule? Like, is it going to take longer now because of the whole switch, or is it actually going to, shorten development time? I don't know. Like, I really don't know about this.
I've heard some people speculating that it was a quality issue where they weren't entirely happy with the work that CyberConnect 2 had done, which is why they brought it in-house, and that's also perhaps why they haven't been releasing any new footage from the game.
Like they have to redo everything that's already been done?
They may be doing that, yeah.
I think that's a Nomura thing again, though. I kind of rag on Nomura a lot, and people don't like that, but at the end of the day, when it comes to Remake, he, in interviews, has said he wasn't happy with the reveal trailer, when the vast majority of fans, all of us included, will agree that every line in that is pretty perfect.
Yeah.
In terms of how the fans are feeling. And Nomura's not interested in that. Nomura is interested in, spending 5 years making rocks look good. And making zippers on characters look really cool. And my God, I have lots of respect for Nomura. I know it doesn't sound like it, but we're in a situation where I believe he has looked at it and gone, I don't like the quality of what I'm seeing. He complained in an interview as well after the gameplay trailer was released that it wasn't what he was seeing he didn't like, and he had to spend a really long time polishing up and re-editing the trailer to become something that he was happy with before it was released. And I think it's just he's taken that ethos and applied it to the whole project and just gone, actually no, you guys are working really hard on that and the fans really like it. I'm not happy with that. I'm going to bring it to internal Square Enix and I'm going to change everything that he's done.
Yeah, was it like, I got the impression that maybe he was not happy with like the certain designs that they used, because I know with the reveal trailer they had some random soldiers or whatever running up the stairs that looked nothing like anyone that has ever been in Final Fantasy VII has ever looked.
Yeah.
It kind of looked a bit like the
NPCs?
designs from Before Crisis, I think.
I don't know, because these people look like people that actually, Before Crisis, I was thinking Crisis Core. I never played Before Crisis. So
No one has.
Yes. Very few people have ever had the chance to play it.
That's true.
It's probably worth remembering that Nomura doesn't have that much experience of directing in the Final Fantasy series. Of course, he has directed the Kingdom Hearts series, which would bring us nicely onto our next point. I was going to ask Carlie about her thoughts on Kingdom Hearts 3 here, but she's actually just dropped off our recording. So any other Kingdom Hearts players here?
I used to be super into Kingdom Hearts back in the day. I lost interest in it a long time ago, though. I thought that I feel like the last time I played anything from Kingdom Hearts, I played through part of Birth by Sleep, but I didn't get very far.
Tets is massive on Kingdom Hearts.
He's being quiet. Doesn't want to talk about it.
I do like Kingdom Hearts. I'm actually really excited for Kingdom Hearts 3, especially the Toy Story reveal. That's something that I really wanted to see in Kingdom Hearts, and to me, it just looked perfect. Like the animation on the characters is it's like straight out of a Pixar movie. Like I got to give credit to the Square Enix animators.
That was amazing.
That was the news from the same interview with Nomura, which is firstly that Kingdom Hearts 3 would be releasing in 2018, and then they revealed Toy Story 3, but said that there would be fewer Disney Worlds overall. So, Tet, seeing as you're now our resident expert on this, do you feel disappointed that they're going to be fewer worlds, or are you happy with what you've seen so far?
If they're bigger, which we know they will be because they look pretty massive compared to what we've seen on the PlayStation 2 games, then I'm pretty much okay with having fewer Disney worlds. More exploration within a world rather than just having small worlds, but just more of them, Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right. Well, we'll ask Carlie what she thinks about it if she ever rejoins us. But in the meantime, we'll move on to our next piece of news, which is that Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, released quite recently and has been very well received. It's had 0 negative reviews on Metacritic so far, out of a total of 65. Only 3 mixed and 62 positive, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Tenny, you've been playing this, I understand.
Yeah, a little bit. I have been a huge fan of 12 ever since it was first released on the PS2. I've always, been really defensive of it. Like I don't think it's my favorite game in the series, but I've always thought that it deserved so much more love than what it got. So far, I think that the game seems pretty great. I haven't gotten as far into it as a lot of other people on TLS have. I've just been busy and haven't had a chance to sit down and play games recently. But it looks beautiful. The remaster of the score is gorgeous. They redid all of the voice acting, so it doesn't have like the weird. I don't know if I can describe like the sound that the voice acting had in the original game, which I always thought was intentional and kind of enjoyed, but it's sounds really great actually without it as well. Even though a lot of
Like
people,
it was recorded through a steel pipe.
yeah, I've heard people say that before. I thought that was intentional, but apparently that wasn't intentional. It never
I think it was
bothered me.
intentional for the judges, at least.
Yeah, for the judges. But even like with the judges, you can tell that they sound like they're talking from behind their helmet. But everybody else still had this weird kind of tone to their voice. It sounded like it was in some weird, like, I don't know, room or like lower quality mic or something, which I don't know, didn't bother me, but they sound great now. They redid it. I'm still trying to get used to the jobs because those were not there in the original game. I do think that it will, so far it seems like it'll be an improvement, because one criticism I did have of the original game was the way that the license grids were set up is that you basically, you could, I mean, it's cool. The idea that you can teach your character anything and everything seems cool, but the way that they had it set up in the original game is that you basically had to teach your character anything and everything just to get to what you wanted to teach them. Like they would have you'd want to teach your character a certain weapon, but then they'd have like spaces for a completely different weapon you didn't want to bother with in the way that you had to go to get to where you wanted. And it seemed strange to me, because then it kind of feel like it took away a little bit of the customization, because I'm like, well, I don't want to waste my points on this, but I have to because I want to get to this square. So now it's a lot more streamlined, where you want your person to be able to learn like one specific kind of weapon. Well, now you pick the job that does that weapon, and then you're good to go. So there's that's going for it. So far it seems good. I have to play a lot more, but I think that I'm really going to enjoy it.
I think I would have liked it if they'd added the option to have the base games license board where everyone can learn everything. Although I am eager to try the Zodiac job system as well, but unfortunately I don't have a PS4.
It's not as much of a limitation as it appears, especially since, international Zodiac job system, every character was allowed to have one job each. I don't like the finality of like being locked into that. It's like you choose that job and your character is stuck there. So it's advisable, and I've seen a few places saying this, that because in the Zodiac Age you can actually unlock 2 jobs for each character, which gives you the opportunity to use all of the jobs in a single playthrough. And the option to unlock a second job appears, maybe this is a bit of a spoiler, cover your ears.
Quite early in the game.
Cover your ears, but it's quite early in the game. It's right after the Tomb of Wraithfall. You get the option to unlock a second job. So it's advisable even to try and kind of amble your way through the game to that point and make yourself a save. And then that can be your jumping off point in any future playthroughs, where you can make different class choices for each character.
So don't make any job choices at all until you're done with Wraithfall's Tomb?
Well, I didn't follow this. I didn't follow that advice. Okay. I chose my jobs as soon as I got characters, basically.
I did that too.
Yeah, but like that's an option for people if they wanted, a save file, a fresh save file to start again and make different job choices for their characters.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm really glad that this game is getting the love that it, I think, has always deserved. I'm sorry, Tennyo, I cut you off. Were you still going to say something there?
Nothing important. I was going to be like, I can't even remember what I was going to say now.
I'm sorry. Perils of recording from the other side of the world. Sorry. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts. Final Fantasy XII has always been one of my very favorite Final Fantasy games as well. One of my all-time favorite games, in fact. And I think perhaps this re-release is opening people's eyes to it a little bit more.
I do feel like 12 has somehow gotten a lot more love in recent years than it used to have back in the day when it was first released, which makes me very happy because it deserves it. Like, it wasn't a bad game by any means, but it became like the cool thing to shit on it for so long. It's like, but why?
I think it's a case of like the fandom has had a chance to move on in the sense that they are no longer expecting the next original PlayStation era Final Fantasy, so to speak. Because there's an argument to be
Oh.
made that 10 was an evolution of that, and 10-2 was the direct sequel, so it got a pass for being quite different. And then they released 12, and it was so different from anything they had done before that it got all this hate. Critically, it did very, very well when it was first released. Like, it's still one of the highest rated Final Fantasy games.
Mm-hmm.
But the fandom itself wasn't ready for that big a change, I don't think. And now that the fandom has like had years and years to move on, and they've seen arguably worse in other FF games, people are like, oh my god, this was actually amazing. Like,
Right?
yeah.
Because I love 12, and I know that there are bigger 12 fans on the forum than Lex and I and Flint and stuff. Like Lif, who like, and Fangu, who like live and breathe everything Final Fantasy 12.
I think Fangy might have started playing the original game again when the Zodiac Age came out. I'm not entirely sure.
I'm sure she's got Zodiac Age now. She's been doing a playthrough.
Okay.
Well, I remember sitting through, like, she's trying to do like a speed run once, and I think she was, from start to finish, I can't remember how long it took her, but it was like...
She's attempted it many times, yeah. I mean, she's really good at 12.
Like, that's a lot faster than I could do it.
Yeah. I just wanted to read one review that I saw, which is from Kotaku, and they've got like a tick and a cross, presumably for good things and bad things in the game. And in the good things, they've written, fantastic combat and world. The PS4 remasters changes make a great game even greater. And the only thing they've written for the bad things about this game is Vaughn. So
what's wrong with
See, that's just mean.
Truth.
I think that's like something that's been going on for a very long time. This is just hate on Vaughn. I never found him, like, he's always tuned into the story, but he's not like obnoxious or anything like that.
I think that Vaughn is great. People need to like step off with their hate. And Pinello, people love to shit on Pinello too. It's like, no.
The issue with Van is that he's a complete like non-character. Like the story is told through his eyes for the first, like, I want to say quarter of the game, and the rest of the game he is irrelevant, and so is Pinello. And it's not that they're not likable as characters. It's just that when you look at the overall story of 12, there is no real reason for them to be there beyond a certain point.
Well, Vaughn is there because of what happened to his brother.
But it's obvious that wasn't before. Like,
it
he
feels very
was back
tactile.
there. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, though, where was it? Was it Lyft posted an article where they apparently, it's supposed to be Bosch originally was supposed to be the main character, but they switched it to Vaughn, and that happened very, very early in development. Like, I feel like people think that Vaughn is an afterthought, but he was there pretty early on in the beginning. I don't know. I like him, and I think that he's a good everyman character, and I think that all the characters have something to offer.
I think maybe you've highlighted one of the issues with 12's characters in general, and that early on in the story, and this is something I've really noticed with this playthrough. I'm up to the Fawn Coast, by the way. Early on in the story, every character does have their reasons, and that they continually kind of state for continuing to be a part of this group. The main important characters of the group and journey being Bash and Ash, obviously. And in almost every cutscene where a new thing is achieved, to like get the Dawn Shard or whatever, Balthier will go, okay, I'll come with you because I want to see this treasure. And Fran is obviously with Balthier all the way. And Van and Pinello are like, okay, Van, I'm coming because blah, blah, blah. And they do have their reasons, but that just stops at the point where they decide to go to Arcades. And there is no real reason at that point for them to, but it could be saved with a single line like, I am coming with you because blah, 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 but they just don't do that anymore. It's just like, okay, now we're a ragtag group of friends and we're going to continue.
Well, see, I think that once you reach a certain point in the game where you don't need to state it anymore, the characters have come this far together. Why would like Vaughn and Pinello decide, oh, we're going home? Like,
because danger and death and maturity.
Yeah, but they're teenagers. they don't understand that.
I don't accept that. They've come this far. They're not gonna go home now. Especially like Vaughn wants to see the Empire fall. He doesn't want the Empire to be, he's a citizen of Dalmasca, and his brother was killed fighting the Empire. he wants the Empire gone. Like, the citizens of Damascus just want the Empire gone. Vaughn, that's a good enough reason for Vaughn to stick around.
That's
and
totally
even for
fair.
Penelo.
I think probably one of the reasons people wouldn't like Penelo is she's a satellite character to a satellite character. I mean, again, to me they're fine. They don't detract anything from the story. They're both really useful in gameplay, so I would find them to be fine.
Same. I think that, like, Vaughn is, he's a really strong character, and Penelo does. Fighting wise, like, I usually use Bosch as like my tank, but Vaughn, I feel like, can fill that role to an extent as well. And then Penelo is good for, being the stereotypical white mage if you'd like her to be. And so from like a gameplay standpoint, all of the characters are really great and balance each other out.
What was it that Kimball said about Penelo? God Queen Penelo? Because of her stats.
That does sound like her.
Well, Penelo and Ash are the best magic users in the game. And Vaughn actually is a really good tank, better than Bush because his vitality stat is a lot higher.
Fran makes the best machinist white mage, by the by.
Fran is the white mage? Okay.
Fran's stats are pretty bad.
I never would have pegged Fran as being the white mage.
She is. It's because the combination of machinist and white mage is the best for her animations and stats.
Shoot, now I almost want to restart the game because I made Penelo a white mage.
Penelo's a fine white mage too.
Okay.
I feel like we've discussed Final Fantasy XII quite a long time now, and I did still want to talk about the music, but I think we'll probably fit that in a little bit later in the show. So let's keep going with the other Final Fantasy news from the last couple of weeks. Lex, this is an item that you shared on TLS, and I think it took quite a lot of us by surprise. It's videos of characters from Final Fantasy XIII, specifically Lightning and Snow, promoting Nissan cars, specifically a car called Nissan Kicks, I think it was, in China.
I think it's
Yes.
Nissan.
I mean, shout outs to NeoGAF, which is where I found the thread for this. And by the by, these videos were released in like early June. So they've been kicking around for like 2 months, and I was shocked to my very core that I haven't seen them being shared anywhere in any FF fandom. But yeah, they've inserted Nissan cars, inserted Final Fantasy XIII characters into Nissan cars, and then inserted the Nissan cars into FMVs from Final Fantasy XIII. So it's a bit strange. It's a bit weird. I'm not really sure what's to be said about it. It's very, very strange that they've chosen to use Final Fantasy XIII characters this long after Lightning Returns released. I mean, we're just on the back of the release of Final Fantasy XV, and they're still, beating away at that dead horse. So I don't really understand why they've done this, but it's a neat little thing for the internet, I guess.
Maybe they have a remaster idea.
I was going to say, is 13 more popular in China that we just don't realize it or something? Or
I mean, I think 13 is quite popular in China. I'm just not sure if it's more popular than, say, 15, or I'm not sure.
Do any of you recall last year when Lightning was used to promote some, I think it was Louis Vuitton?
Louis Vuitton, yeah. Some of those ads actually showed up. Like, I remember standing in line at the grocery store once and just randomly grabbing a magazine and flipping through and being all like, oh, Lightning, here we go. And I actually bought an issue of the magazine because of that, because I wanted to know about the pages.
So it worked.
Yeah, I guess it did. I mean, it didn't make me buy Louis Vuitton. I don't think anything would make me buy Louis Vuitton, but it made me buy that magazine. So I think it was an issue of Marie Claire. I can't remember what it was. It could have been anything. But
I can see how this would work. The magazine would have a massive discount for you to buy Louis Vuittons. Then you would buy Louis Vuittons.
Yeah, like 90% maybe.
I feel like for some people this kind of thing cheapens the character, but for me, I really like seeing Final Fantasy characters out and about in the real world.
Out in the
wild.
in
In a strange sense, like it's really weird. I remember when 13 was first releasing, it was on buses all over the city I live in, and I was just blown away by that because I was like, wow, there it is. There's that franchise that I've loved for years and years and years, and everybody looks at that. Do you know what I mean? And people will be going, "What the fuck is that?" And more people will be like discovering it. So I like that aspect of like these weird character cameos.
I do like that. Yeah, I feel the same way that, you're into something that you know that it's not the mainstream, and then all of a sudden, it almost feels like, I guess I can't describe the way it feels, but it's different when suddenly something that you loved that was just yours, and it's now suddenly it's out there for everyone.
Suddenly it's almost normal.
But you liked it before it was cool.
Right? I swear I'm not a
Just a
nerd.
hipster.
Right. I like it before it was cool. I'm gonna tip my fedora at you.
I mean, if it's cheap as a character, what does that say about Nintendo?
What does it say about Nintendo?
Yeah, please explain.
And how many places do you see Mario?
Yeah, but I don't know, it's different because like characters like Mario and Link are essentially children's characters. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, there will be people screaming in rage at me saying that because I'm not saying adults can't enjoy it because we all like a bit of Mario and a bit of Zelda, but they are very much like,
I think they're already
it's
part
okay
of
for
pop
them
culture.
to be, they're part of pop culture. Do you know what I mean? It's okay for them to be a McDonald's toy. It's okay for them to be, and they appear in so many other games and stuff. But it's different when it's a Final Fantasy character. There's something different about it.
Especially from Final Fantasy XIII. Just why?
Yeah, that's it. It's because 13 isn't that popular. Like, it is popular, but it's not iconic. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't have that, like, when you say iconic Final Fantasy character, who do you think of?
Someone from 7.
I think that 13 has had a lot of exposure, though. So I think that it will be a lot more recognizable to a lot of people, even if they aren't hardcore fans who've been at the series for a long time.
Yeah.
I think the exposure that the 13 compilation got was like Square Enix shoving it down everyone's throats and fans screaming, "No, enough, do the next game already."
Yeah, which obviously didn't
Well, that's
help.
happening with 15 right now. Controversial viewpoint.
Will be.
Yeah. Which is also probably not going to help either.
Speaking of Final Fantasy 15, it allows me to have a nice segue onto our next piece of news.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another appearance of something from Final Fantasy elsewhere. This is the news of the Regalia from Final Fantasy XV coming to Forza Horizon, which is, I believe, a Microsoft-published game, Xbox exclusive, or probably PC now as well. Any thoughts on this from anyone?
Is it bad that I've never heard of this game before?
No, it's an Xbox exclusive racer, so...
Okay, because I don't
You
own
can
an Xbox.
tell.
And I'm
Yeah,
not
you can tell how
super-
much Lex approves of that.
I mean, the news in general is just like, has anyone ever seen that YouTube video of the old woman who goes, "Who cares?" Because that's me right now.
I don't know if I have, but I will look it up.
Yes, I mean, Forza is a world-renowned racer, and props to whoever enjoys it as a franchise. The Regalia is not an ugly car, and it will be in the game. What do we have to say about that? For my part, it's the woman in the YouTube video.
What I want to know is, can you customize your car and then like port it into Forza? If you have
Probably not.
Xbox version of
We don't really
15?
know the details yet.
I doubt it.
I think when there was a promotion like this before, then you had to own the game where like the car was coming from in order to get it in Forza. But I'm not sure if they're going to do that here or if it's going to be paid DLC or what. We still need to find out some more.
Now, if it's that nice as fuck Audi they revealed at the Final Fantasy 15 reveal event, I'm jealous because that was a nice Audi.
I'm a bit confused.
And they actually that was because like the Audi was supposed to look like. Was that supposed to be the Regalia, or was it like one of the cars in?
I think it was like a Regalia inspired Audi that was in Kingsglaive, and they only made one or something. And I'm not a fan of video game companies bringing cars onto the stage for the sake of going, "Wow, look at this car," because why? But it was a nice looking car.
Because they get money.
Right. It wasn't.
I mean, I can tell you that I care just as much about both Forza and 15 after seeing that I did before, which is I don't care at all.
Okay, well, I think that's probably a prompt for us to move on to the next item on our schedule.
No one cares. Let's move on.
What a way to end it. We don't care. Bye.
All right, so that pretty much wraps up the Final Fantasy news from the last couple of weeks. So let's have a quick run through of what's new on the Lifestream.net. First of all, we recently put up a review of Final Fantasy XIV's most recent expansion, Stormblood. 3 people contributed to this review, and they each gave their experiences and a score, and we came up with an overall score for the review, which I won't spoil, so go check it out. Carlie, you were one of the 3 people to have contributed to this review. How are you enjoying Final Fantasy XIV?
I mean, first of all, you can that joke I might be maybe in the Final Fantasy expert, 14 expert is kind of. I'm actually like now playing the game. I mean, it was interesting because it's the first content that I ever done when it actually came out. Which part of it, I'm not sure I will be very into doing that again because that's the long queue times. My game has a DirectX fatal error, so I will play for an hour and it would crash, and that would basically mean I couldn't play the rest of the day because I would have to play like 3 hours to get back in the game. The good thing is because we're on a European server, I get to play in the morning and get to play in the evening where there aren't any European players, so I get to play like without doing any queue times. The game itself, I enjoyed more than Heavensward. I loved like the Asian feel. Like I love Kugani. It was beautiful and I don't want to ever leave, which is sad because I used to spend like, a lot of time in Linsa like jumping on the spikes like you used to do too.
Trademark.
Yeah. But like Kugani is so beautiful.
I was gonna say I'm still on the fence on whether or not I want to give 14
You
a
do.
try.
You
I
100%
feel like
You should.
I've had multiple people try to convince me, and I'm just like, I just don't know. Because I'm
You
afraid of
definitely
being
should.
sucked in. I'm afraid of being sucked into another MMO because back in the day I used to play World of Warcraft. I'm all like, I know this is Final Fantasy. Do I really want to do that again?
I guarantee you will get sucked in, but it's worth it.
And you have us. You can play with us.
Do I have my TLS family?
Yes.
I might as well just throw in a quick plug here that if anyone is on the Cerberus server in the Chaos data center, which is for European servers, if you see anyone with the TLS tag running around, then do give us a shout.
That's us.
And if there's someone on a spike, it's either Flynn or me. Probably Flynn because I'm not on Lunsa anymore.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying Stormblood as well. And obviously, I've only been playing Final Fantasy XIV for, I think, 4 months now, 3 months possibly. So this is the
Since
first.
March.
Yeah, this is the first current content that I'm doing as well. And I couldn't do it right at the time it released because I was busy, but I've really enjoyed like experiencing everything as a complete newbie again. Kind of reminds me of when I first started again.
This would be the point where I say I've been playing Final Fantasy XIV since the A Realm Reborn beta in, I want to say, July of 2013 or 2012.
Hasn't really been that long.
Yeah, it's at least 4 years. So I'm still in love with the game. Stormblood is the best expansion, best content they've had, in my opinion. I'm really, really enjoying it.
I think like for me, one of the things that I liked it more than Heavensward is that I feel like the story and what's going on in Stormblood has been building up for some time. It's like as far back as A Realm Reborn. So it feels more familiar than Heavensward.
Yeah.
Tets, have you ever tried Final Fantasy XIV or thought about it?
No, and I don't think I'm ever gonna play an MMO. Just don't have the time, or don't want to put in the time and the money. So
It's definitely a massive time sink.
yeah.
Yeah, I suppose there's that.
I would-
Did 14 do the thing where you can play for free up to a certain level?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's free. It's
'Cause I
free
know-
now up to level 30, I think, and then it stops you from
Okay.
progressing. But
Oh,
until
yeah.
you get a subscription or buy the game, so it's completely free to download and play it until you hit level 30, and then if you buy a copy of the game and buy, you can get the base game really, really cheap, like for $5 or less. You get the
Okay.
first 30 days free, and then if you buy, like, this is if you buy them separately. If you buy, like, if you then go on to buy Heavensward, you get another 30 days free, and it's the same if you go
You
on to
don't.
buy Stormblood.
You don't get that with Heavensward. I'm not sure if they've started doing it with Stormblood again, but they didn't have it when I bought Heavensward at least.
Did you buy it separately?
Yeah.
Maybe it was just with like initial releases then, because I definitely got an extra 30 days free when I bought them at release.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. But I think maybe it's because he bought it when it was so close to Stormblood that they weren't doing that
Yeah,
anymore.
possibly. But I don't think they're doing it for Stormblood standalone either. At least I didn't get any free gameplay time.
I did.
Okay, so maybe I'll download it and play to level 30 and then see.
One of us.
I feel
One
about
of us. One of us.
Okay, you guys are
It's funny.
freaking me out now.
It's funny that you think you're just gonna try it and not play it again. Even if you don't want to, they will force you to keep playing.
I was totally worried about getting
Right.
hooked before I started playing, and then I got hooked. But I'm enjoying it, so I'm not complaining.
Flint resisted joining for years, and I literally mean years, because I'd been telling him for years that he would enjoy it, and he's like, yeah, just a get sucked in, yeah.
That was a good impression of me.
Yeah, and then we went to KupoCon in March, and he met other 14 players, and he saw the 14 cosplays, and he was like, I really need to try this game.
Everyone was so
Oh,
enthusiastic
yeah.
about it when we met in person.
Yeah, it's that good. It really is.
What's funny is that a few weeks before your con, you Flint were in a voice chat with us, and I said, like, if you get, like, you actually decide to play the game, do you do it after we finish playing Mass Effect Andromeda so we can play with you? But you didn't. Like, we were playing Mass Effect Andromeda and you got into the game.
Yeah, my timetable bends to no one. Sorry.
Flint is his own man.
Exactly. Oh,
There's
well,
another
Also,
word
he
for that.
leveled up.
Okay. I'm not sure if I want to know.
I don't want to know either.
Consider it.
Oh,
What'd you say?
you said considerate.
I did not catch that.
I said inconsiderate.
Oh, inconsiderate. I heard what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
The other thing is he leveled up insanely quickly.
Yeah, I didn't actually go on the free trial because I was given a copy of the base game in like some Christmas pack from a year ago or so, and that came with just 30 days of standard play, and I hit like level 30 in a couple of days. So even if I had been on the trial, I would have just blown straight through it immediately. Anyway, let's move on from talking about one of the newest Final Fantasy games to talking about somewhat of an older one. Another piece of news from the live stream is that our Dirge of Cerberus multiplayer archives have been given a major update by the irreplaceable Shademp. I never think I say that right. He's just added a section about the online missions to the game. This is so detailed, as always, with his work. You can go through every online mission in the game. I think there's like 100 of them or something. You can sort them by rank. You can go look at videos, screenshots, information, such as time limits and everything. Really recommend checking this out if you have any interest in Dirge of Cerberus whatsoever.
I want to be clear about the level of effort that Shademp puts into his work, because it is truly amazing. And the Dirge of Cerberus multiplayer was only ever available in the original Japanese release of the game. So online footage is scarce and very, very difficult to get a hold of, and Shademp has had to do some extreme digging to get all of this info. So I'd really recommend that you check it out, and props to Shademp for doing it.
Yeah, he had to
Yes,
dig
thank
really
you for
deep.
that.
He had to go down the rabbit hole for this one.
His dedication to the
Insert.
entire compilation is incredible, and he's, I think, one of the few people who actually enjoys Dirge. Possibly
Yeah.
controversial. opinion.
Yeah. It's funny because at one time, I was following his thread. He did a couple of like Dirge of Cerberus playthroughs, getting like all S ranks and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of found his enthusiasm a bit infectious. I was like, you know what? You kind of make me want to play through Dirge again as well. So I booted up the game, played halfway through the first level, and then I was like, nah, fuck this shit.
Dude, I did
I hate
exactly
this game.
the same thing. See, when I first started doing it, I remember I was talking to him on Skype about it one day, and he was like, oh, I'm getting the S ranks on, these levels in the original, and I managed to secure this copy of like the original Japanese version of the game and blah blah blah. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. I haven't played Dirge in a really long time. I'm gonna play it. At the time I was streaming lots, so I decided to stream my playthrough, and I think I got to the chapter where you're in Edge, and then you end up, I think shortly at the start of the next chapter, you're stuck somewhere in like the Shinra Mansion basement or something. And I got kind of stuck, and I just kind of went, I'm done. I have no desire to continue. Bye.
Did you guys ever beat Dirge originally back
I
in the
beat
day?
it on the day it released. I bought it the day it released, and I beat it the same night. And I never played it again.
I played through it several times, and back then I actually kind of thought, you know what, this game isn't bad. It's just kind of mediocre. But honestly, like now going back to it, I kind of feel like, yeah, no, it's pretty bad actually.
Especially with modern aiming and stuff.
Yeah.
It has not aged well.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I kind of find, I don't know what Shadow finds so interesting about this game, but I do admire his enthusiasm about this game, and that he really, all the research he's done. That's pretty impressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The only Dirge of Cerberus thing that I ever done is when we were trying to do the commentary for it. That was the first time I ever saw the game, and I've never played it. I don't have any intention of ever playing it.
To be honest, guys, it's not unfun. It's not unfun to run around the world of 7. And to be able to double jump around the place as Vincent. It's not crap. It's just very off in so many ways.
Well, I always felt that I seem like there's a lot of missed opportunities in Dirge. Like, why'd you not bring in the rest of the cast more often for more screen time?
All right. Well, moving on then. Okay, I mentioned that Shademp is pretty irreplaceable for us, but I think there's someone else on our staff who comes close to him for level of efforts and detail into his projects. That is the staff member known as the Twilight Mexican, or Trez Diaz, to you and me.
Some people
That's
might know
not
him as
funny.
Squall of CD. He used to go by
I
that
believe
as
he
well.
still publishes articles on the front page under that pseudonym, yes. He recently compiled something called the Final Fantasy XV Lore Archive. So never let it be said that we're only a Final Fantasy VII website. This lore archive was a massive project, which was made all the more incredible by the fact that he hasn't actually played the game.
Yeah, I think that's something that should be pointed out. He's neither played it, nor does he actually like that game.
Yeah.
He doesn't. We need to buy him a PS4 somehow. Get the money. Be like, okay, now you can actually play the game that you've put so much effort
Yeah, for
on.
sure. I just I think his love for it, for the lore at least, comes from his obsession, and an obsession that most of us shared with Versus 13 when that was a thing. And I think he just got really into the idea of, watching the story and watching all these things. And I don't know, 15 fell apart for me shortly after I finished it. I haven't touched it since, which is very unusual for me in any Final Fantasy game. I've not fully formed an opinion on it yet, but Trez's dedication to publishing that lore archive is unbelievable, and the detail is unbelievable.
Shall I perhaps just explain a little bit more about what it is? In his own words here, he said, it's an attempt to document all the bits and pieces of the game and 2 or 3 things outside of it that introduce or expand upon the lore of the Final Fantasy XV universe. And then there is a number of kind of sub-pages within this archive, including chapter-by-chapter lore exposition and development, in-game loading screens, in-game radio broadcasts and newspaper articles, miscellaneous lore, and even translations from Final Fantasy XV Ultimania scenario side. I'm not entirely sure what that is. So yeah, again, if you've played 15, if you have any interest in 15, then go check this out. There's currently a link to it on the front page of the livestream.net. Go browse at your leisure. Any more thoughts on that?
I wish the game would have done a better job there, because you read stuff after you play the game, which is one of the things that annoy me about the game, that were not really explained or expanded or anything. And you find it after the game. It's like, why wasn't this in the game? The whole thing with like what's his name is Prompto's father. That should have been in the game.
How do you guys feel that? Well, I don't want to cover old territory here with Final Fantasy 15 review, but
We just talked about it.
well, just quickly overall, how good a job did the game do of telling its story? Do you think?
Oh, poor. Piss poor.
Which half of the game are you talking
Overall.
specifically? No, it did not do a good job at all.
The game is fun, but the story left me fairly unsatisfied at the end, I have to say.
Poor. It's just poor. So the story is flat out poorly told. The first half is passable. I would say that much. It's passable in the sense that you feel like it's building up to something. You feel like there's major stuff going on behind the scenes that you're going to find out about, and the second half completely fucks it. So squandered. It's not good. I mean, they've said since the beginning they're planning to add more cutscenes, etc., to explain what goes on in the second half, but it could not be clearer that it suffered. The story suffered massively as a result of its development.
It wasn't finished, and the second half seemed to be like they took chunks of what was left of Versus and chunks of what the idea for 15 was. They put it together and, okay, let's see what happens, and it was not good.
Despite all the delays, do you think ultimately they kind of rushed it a little bit?
Yes,
Absolutely.
the second half is obvious that game was not ready.
Well, considering that they restarted the game, what, like 3 years ago or something like that?
The story goes
Like,
that
from
it's
the
like
ground
the
up.
story goes that the game actually only had between 18 months to 2 years of development before it was released, which is just insane.
It showed.
Really, when you consider, you know, the announcement at E3 2012 that this thing was coming.
2013.
Was it 2013?
Yeah, because that was the year that
Kingdom
the
Hearts 3.
reveal for the new consoles, and then Kingdom Hearts
Yeah.
3.
So I mean, when you consider that, and when you consider how long it was in, like, Versus 13 was in development hell before that, the fact that the director switch happened shortly after the title reveal that it was 15, etc. All of these things just awful.
Yeah, I agree with what he said, and he was right. That was what I was going to say.
I'm done with it.
I'm through with it, 15. I'm through with it.
I mean, I'm still gonna play more. I haven't played episode Gladio yet, let alone episode Prompto, and I need to do that. And Ryu and Lith recorded a little mini thing about like an hour long of episode Gladio that I'm gonna finish up so we can put up. Other than that, I mean, I think that 15 is enjoyable from a gameplay standard, but the story I thought needed a lot more.
I mean, here's the problem that I have with the whole situation, because there are people that said, oh, but there were like this whole issue that they had to restart the game and all that stuff. I don't have any sympathy for the company. They put themselves in that situation. And even in the time they were supposed to be restarting the game, as it turns out, they changed still from 2013 to when the game came out. It's not the game that they made that is the one that later came out. So I have no sympathy for them. The issue is that it's a fun gameplay wise sort of. Even when they did that event where they show like the car flying and all that stuff, that was a thing that annoyed me, because the car, you can only fly the car after the game is over, and what do I really need the car to fly then? A lot of stuff that they promoted wasn't actually in the game. It's just like they keep adding stuff now, and I don't care about stuff being added now because I already played the game.
I do have to say that I enjoy the off-roading a little bit. Like the big tires that they give you, and I think that's kind of fun. And I hate flying the Regalia, but I love driving around with the big, huge tires.
I mean, I haven't touched 15. I haven't touched a 15 patch since the game was released. So, I mean, it would probably be a very different experience now that there have been a few patches and there's some DLC and stuff. And I will play the game again at one point. Right now, I do not care about it. I just don't. Like, I'm very much, when it comes to Final Fantasy games, I'm like, I need the Platinum Trophy because I just need to have it because it's a Final Fantasy game. Like, I have the Platinum Trophy for Type 0. I have the Platinum Trophy for every Final Fantasy game that is World of Final Fantasy, every FF game that's released on PlayStation since trophies came, except 14 because fuck that. But I'm just not fussed about 15 for whatever reason right now. I could take it or leave it. Every time I see there's been an update in the 15 thread, I click on it and I kind of scan read it and just go, why do people care about this? Which is like a really negative thing, and I'm sorry to fans of 15. I understand that every FF is going to have its fans, and perhaps one day I will be as big a 15 fan as some others are, but I just can't muster up the will to care.
It was a very weird time because it's kind of similar to what happened to Andromeda. Now it's like been put on limbo. And you and me, we're big BioWare fans. Neither of us has touched the game after we finished it. Now are we really interested in what's going on? There's been like 3 patches that they added a bunch of stuff to fix the faces, and I just don't care.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably enough Final Fantasy XV discussion for now, but I will remind listeners that if they want to hear more, then there's a 2-hour, 20-minute review up, which you can currently find on our front page at thelivestream.net. Our last piece of news from the live stream is that we have an ongoing Final Fantasy X community playthrough, which is where everyone starts playing the game at the same time, and then they're given like chapters each week with target points of the game to get to. Then once they reach that point, then they will go on the forum and share their thoughts about that chapter and the game in general. Unfortunately, none of the 5 people in this podcast are taking part in this community playthrough. I think a few of us voted for Final Fantasy XII, and then we were a little bit disappointed when Final Fantasy X won, because 12 would have been such good timing.
10 is, maybe objectively it's not the greatest game in the series, but it will always have a special place in my heart. It'll probably be the one that I think the most fondly.
I love FF10. I love it to bits. I loved it when it was released, and it's got the nostalgia factor, and I love everything about it. I love its story. I love the turn-based battle system. I really love FF10, but right now I am playing the Zodiac Age, and I'm also playing Stormblood on a fairly regular basis, and I do not have the time to participate in a Final Fantasy X community playthrough.
Also, shout outs to Kimball for trying to troll the vote and make it a tie, and then he ended up actually breaking the tie instead.
Kimbaru.
Right.
Anyway.
But I will probably go back and play through 10 and maybe try to answer all of the questions that JT has put together in that thread, but probably not till after I'm done with Zodiac Age.
JT seems to be doing a really good job with it, and I do go in and read the thread just to see what people are saying about it. They've been going about 4 weeks now.
JT.
I have two because I love 10, so I will go and read it, but I'm currently not playing through it.
I just want to say, like, as the site director, I feel very shitty that I'm not being a bit more supportive of the community playthroughs these days, but I want to thank JT for taking that on and putting the effort into seeing that through.
I concur.
Yes, thank you, JT. You are doing a wonderful job.
And we miss you.
With all of your.
I do
He was
miss
supposed
him.
to be here today, but then something came up. Hopefully we'll get him on next time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's just about covers all the news that we've got from the live stream. Let's get on to a discussion topic, which I'm going to present to the guests on the show, and I'm also going to throw it over to the listeners as well. So please write in or leave a comment on YouTube or our front page if you would like to answer this question, and we'll try and read it out next time. The topic is, do remasters make the old games obsolete, or do you still find reasons to play them? And my spotlight's going to shine on the person who's been quietest recently, and that would be Tetsujin, to answer this question first.
For me, for the most part, yeah, like remasters actually kind of completely replace the originals for me. Like if it's a decent remaster, I generally don't really have a reason to go back to the original outside of, wanting to compare. Um, I don't know, like the only times I would say that, I would prefer the original over remaster if they really messed up the remaster, like something like Silent Hill HD Collection, which is like riddled with bugs and all kinds of stuff, but yeah, remasters all the way. Remasters have basically replaced my entire PlayStation 2 library of games.
Thinking specifically about the Final Fantasy games, we've recently had remasters of quite a lot of them. 12, obviously. 10 came out a few years ago. Even 9 and 7 have been like touched up a little bit. Have you guys been playing all of those remasters?
I
No.
have not started 9. I kind of watched part of a playthrough of the 9 remaster, and I think it looks gorgeous. And 9 is definitely a game that I need to sit down and play again for the retrospective. But yeah, I feel the same way that when a remaster comes out, especially when you think about like how technology has progressed and we go from having everything like in a square to having like a nice widescreen and better face like character models, it's got to be the remaster all the way. The only thing is that there's a part of me, even though I've got the PS3 version of the 10 remaster, I'm tempted to like buy the PS4 version just because I don't like the way they redid the soundtrack for 10, and I don't like a lot of the remixes, but they put the original one on the PS4 version, which is why I kind of want to get it. But other than that, that's still a remaster. So yeah, remaster over the original.
That feeds into what my opinion on the subject, which is basically that it's going to be subjective depending on the game and depending on what changes have been made. Because if you don't like certain changes, then the original is always going to be there for you to go back to. For example, there's an argument to be made that the PS4 version of FF7 is a remaster, which isn't strictly true because it's a port of a port of a port. So I would probably prefer to play the original if I could, just based on there's some really annoying bugs in the PC version that made their way into the PS4 version, but it also has some nice features like speed. The FF10 remaster, same situation as Tennyo, in that I don't really like. There are some of the remastered tracks I really don't like. But in the PS4 and PC versions, they allow you to choose the original soundtrack. And I think they finally got that right, completely right with Zodiac Age, because at any time you can go into the menu and change the voices from English to Japanese and change the soundtrack from original to remastered.
Now, when I got my copy of 12, it gave me a code where I had to go and download the original separately. And it insinuated that if you didn't have this code from like the special Steelbox edition, you wouldn't get that.
I think that's just in America.
No, I think it's worldwide.
Oh.
Well, I don't know why I have the option, because I have the normal version of the game and I got it from Amazon.
Version.
No, I didn't buy a deluxe version. I was going to get the Steelbook.
I don't know.
No, I didn't. I don't have any codes. Like, there's no codes in it, so I just have that option in my menu.
Have you tried using the option?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I switch between them all the time to hear the difference.
Weird.
Because that was something I was going to bring up, which is that I think it's a little... Okay, I'm not going to mince my words. It's bullshit to make people have to pay extra for the original soundtrack as DLC, or like you can only get it in a deluxe version of the game. But
I mean, yeah, I completely agree. Absolutely agree with that. The only thing I would say is I'm not sure how that is supposed to work, because I definitely have that option, and I know other people have that option, and they didn't need a code to get it. So I don't know how. And I remember before the game released, they were like, "Oh, this version comes with a code, so you can download the original soundtrack." And it was like, why? Why is that a thing? That shouldn't be a thing. But mine doesn't. I have the normal, cheapest version of the game. I got it from Amazon. It came in the normal case. And that option is in my menu, and it's an easy switch because I've done it a few times. And the only other thing I would say is, why would you want the original soundtrack for 12 anyway? Because the 12 soundtrack, the remaster of 12 soundtrack is not like the remaster in quotation marks of 10 soundtrack, which is more of a complete instrumentation change where they completely changed the way some of the songs sound. The 12 remastered soundtrack is literally just the original soundtrack, but orchestrated properly.
Yeah, the only thing I do have to say that I think I might have liked the original version of the lower tone music, because I kind of feel like the remaster version seems a little quieter and subdued in parts, where it's like the original was kind of louder.
Yeah, I mean that could be your sound system as well.
Oh, it could be, I suppose. But other than that, all the other tracks I've heard so far are gorgeous, like the Rabinaster theme and all that.
Do any of us think that we'll go back and play the original Final Fantasy VII once the remake comes out?
Me, 100%.
I actually have been enjoying the PS4 version. I like that there's trophies for the PS, like their other versions don't. And I do think that the PS4 version looks a lot nicer. Like you can tell that they spruced it up. But I actually am enjoying the really high speed. I think it's kind of hilarious. And the endless limit breaks, where if you, I accidentally for some reason I decided to turn off the limit breaks when I was fighting Rufus on top of the Shinra Tower, and he like insta killed me because I forgot that I hadn't been leveling up because I turned off the gun. But I got a trophy out of that, so I guess it's okay.
I mean, that makes a huge difference to the PS1 era Final Fantasy games, the ability to press a button and not have encounters, particularly in Final Fantasy IX as well, the Steam version of FF9. It does make a huge difference to the game.
There are quite a few old Final Fantasy games where I'd love to have that, especially in like the SNES era games.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say, since obviously I never played 7 before, that it will probably be unlikely that we'll play the original version.
Which, Carlie, no, you need to play the original before the remake comes out. There's no excuse for having never done it at all. You don't have to ever go back to it, but you need to play it.
You have started the game, haven't you?
I made it. You can roll your eyes at me because I don't know the name of the caves. That's fine. But that's as far as I made it.
If I had to guess.
I will point out again.
I mean, that is some
I
way.
will point out again.
It's not most of the game, but
yeah, I will. No,
it's maybe like 20%.
I will point out again. Yeah, that's sure. No,
you cross the marshes, and you can either run to Chocobo, fight the Midgard Swarmer, however you pronounce it, or if you time it right, you can run across the marshes without a Chocobo and make it.
Or you can use a glitch to save the game in the middle of the marshes, and then reload it.
Nah, I can time it right and
Yeah,
you can run across. I enjoy doing that. It makes me feel like I have some leap skills that I don't actually have.
What I mean, like, not playing the original version, I mean that I will probably play like the PS4 version of the game.
Okay,
well,
that's roughly the original.
Listen. I need to say this now. It's very, very important, right? The PS4 version of the game is undoubtedly the best version available. Unless you count like PC with mods, and I mean extensive mods that will take you a long, long time to kind of tailor the game to your liking. But the PS4, if you want a vanilla version of the game, the PS4 is probably the best way to do it. However, it ruins one of the best moments in the game because there's a music track that is supposed to kick in at a specific point when a very, very important scene happens, and it doesn't work properly on the PS4 version or the PC version because of the way that music looping is coded into the game. It plays the correct theme at the correct time, but it doesn't loop the way it's supposed to. And this scene has dialogue that you can't skip, and the text boxes move at a very specific pace because the way it was programmed was to be in time with the music. So every single beat of the scene plays at a specific point in the song that is being played. So in the PS4 and PC version, the impact of the scene is lost because the music doesn't play over it correctly. So if anyone's playing it for the first time, PlayStation version all the way.
See, here's the problem. I've seen walkthroughs of the game. It's not going to have the same impact on me anyways.
It will. You don't think it will, but it will.
I think you've only got yourself to blame there, Carlie.
Oh, please.
Yeah, Carlie, why are you on a... I'm kidding, I'm not going to go there.
I joined because of you, so would you blame you instead?
Hey. I'm not the one who decided to not join to play the game.
I mean, I had played a little bit of the game before. I played it when it came up, but it just wasn't mine. And then my cousin lost it, so just blame him instead.
I feel like we've probably covered this ground on the podcast a few times before.
Yeah. You guys never stop complaining about the fact that I never finished Final Fantasy VII. And I will point out again that Joe is even further back than I am.
Well, he's not here, is he?
No, he's never been on the podcast.
So before we move on, did any of you still want to add anything to this discussion about remasters? It doesn't just have to be Final Fantasy games.
I mean, like, say, to me with remastered, let's say Kingdom Hearts, at least for them it was a good idea because, you know, some of their games were in other consoles, like you had the 3DS and all that stuff. So at least they brought all of those together. They're probably going a bit overboard with it, but at least it was a good idea to bring all the games together. But you can, like, if you're not going to play, you can at least watch the cutscenes.
I mean, I agree. The bottom line with, in particular, Square Enix games, which have re-releases in Japan with extra features that don't make it West, is that we can get beautiful upscaled or redone textured remasters of these games that we all loved with more in them. So I don't think there's a downside in that sense. It remains to be seen if, you know, the original 12 will be worth going back to after playing Zodiac Age, just for the freedom to, you know, have all 6 of your characters with, like, farmed Zodiac spears or whatever, just plowing everything down. But I'm enjoying Zodiac Age so far, and it's beautiful to play.
I'm pretty sure I will go back.
Now, how do you get this? How do you get the spear in Zodiac Age?
It'll just be in it. It's just in a chest. Like the chests are all different in Zodiac Age, and they follow the IZJS order. And I'm pretty sure the Zodiac spear is in a chest, but it's not like a low chance chest. It's sitting somewhere for you to find.
Okay, and you can get it multiple times?
No. So some of the chests you get once and they disappear forever, and elsewhere in the game there will be like another chest that has like a 1% Zodiac Spear spawn rate, and that'll be the one that you can farm. But the thing is, the Zodiac Spear is not actually that amazing compared to some of the other weapons in Zodiac Age, because in IZJS they added like basically an ultimate weapon for each class. And quite often those are better than the Zodiac Spear. So keep an eye out for those.
Will do.
I mean, for me, the problem with remasters is sometimes company obviously only do it to get money. Like games that came out a year or 2 years, and they already have a remaster.
So have you?
I find myself not caring. Like, I'm not one of these. I know that there's massive amounts of complaints about, release new games, don't remaster old ones, but I'm not on that train because there are games that I love that I don't have easy access to anymore. Kingdom Hearts is an example. I'm not the biggest Kingdom Hearts fan anymore, but I really like that they've remastered them, so I can say, okay, I can easily play that on my current console. Same situation with 12, because that was the biggest one people were waiting for if you're a Final Fantasy fan, after 10 and 10-2. So I'm on board. Remaster all of the games. Be as greedy as you fucking want. Just do a good job of it, and everybody will be happy.
Agreed.
So it seems, if I'm going to summarize this, that we will go back and play old games if we feel like the new ones have been ruined, or if there've been some big changes which we either don't like, or maybe we do like, but we still want to experience it how it was in the original. Would that be fair?
It's subjective.
Yeah.
Subjective in it. It varies from person to person, because there will be deal breakers for some people that other people do not care about. In certain games, like if something has changed in the Zodiac Age that you absolutely were in love with in the original 12, you're going to want to play the original more than you want to play the remaster.
I think you and I are having a little bit of a discussion about this with the Insane trilogy recently, the Crash Bandicoot remasters.
Yeah.
Long story short, I tried the game at a friend's house and got so frustrated with the controls and the hitboxes and input lag that when I got home, I had to like boot up Crash 2 in an emulator and play a few levels just to kind of remind myself how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it comes. There's a lot that's going to be into it for you. I mean, I regularly replay the original Crash games as well on my Vita and through emulation, and I quickly got used to the Insane Trilogy's weirdness, so to speak. And I think you should maybe try playing it on a monitor with no input lag as well, because it's less controller input lag and more to do with like LCD monitor.
Yeah.
Stuffs. So give that a bash, because I had a great time with the Insane Trilogy.
A Crash Bash?
What about Crash Bash?
No, you said give it a bash, and I was saying, should I give it a Crash Bash?
Okay.
You ruined it. Okay, anyway.
Sorry.
Okay, so let's just ask our listeners as well. Do remasters make the old games obsolete, or do you still find reasons to play them? Feel free to be specific. Which games do you really enjoy the remasters of, and which games do you still prefer the originals? And if you want to write to us, our email address is lifestreampod, that's all one word, @gmail.com. And speaking of listener feedback, obviously we haven't recorded a podcast in a while, so we don't have a lot of it. But we did upload the Final Fantasy XV review to YouTube a couple of days ago, and we've got one comment on there so far. So I'll read that out, and perhaps the two of you who were on that podcast can respond. This is a comment from a person called Gary Barnes, and he says, "You guys didn't discuss what you thought of the summons and how they were utilized, which I believe was completely shitty."
I think that I'm pretty sure that we actually did cover that at length in our original attempt at recording, and I think that we probably forgot to go over it again when we re-recorded it. I thought that we had. Like, I swear to God, we did go over it again, but maybe we didn't.
Here's the thing. We did the second one late, and at that point, it felt like I honestly couldn't remember what we were talking in the first one and what was from the second one. So that's why it feels like, oh, yeah, we covered that, but we did in the first one, unfortunately. And I think you, me, and basically everyone complained about the way the summons are used, which is the problem is you can go the whole game and only get the ones that will definitely come out, and then not have the other ones at all ever in the game.
Sometimes I forget that they're even there.
And that was very annoying because it's a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah. Like, I think that, I mean, from a story concept, they're cool, but gameplay wise, I kind of am not, I wasn't feeling the summons. It's a very strange system. I forget that they're there, and I'm not even 100% sure how you can get them to pop up. I feel like the majority of the time when the command pops up to give you the option to summon, it pops up and then the enemy dies that I'm fighting, and it's like, oh, well, I guess I don't need to summon you because the moment the command popped up, it killed the enemy. So I don't know.
I think like Ramu is the easiest one to get, and that was the only one that came out for me in the game. If I'm not wrong, and I could be because I haven't played the game in a while, to get Leviathan, you need, I think, to be dying and next to the water.
I guess I don't know, because I feel like Leviathan is the one that pops up for me the most, but I never really paid attention to what might have caused it.
How about you two, Lex and Tats? You've both played 15.
What about it? Like, what do I think of the summons?
Yeah.
They're a nice spectacle. That's about it.
Tats?
I think my biggest problem was like the story implementation, because there's like, you go through some trouble to get Titan and Leviathan. There's like a lot of destruction in those battles, and you go through all the effort to get them, but then, when they appear later in the stories, like, I don't know, they just appear once, and then, like, I don't know, they don't really have a big role in the story, and I kind of feel like, well, why did I go through all that effort just for this one appearance? So, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I do kind of feel like towards the end, like, Titan and Leviathan become completely irrelevant to the story. Like, Shiva and Bahamut are the ones that seem to actually have a story purpose, whereas Titan and Leviathan were just there so they could give you cool boss fights.
Yeah.
I think that's probably our sign to the game being unfinished and not like fully thought through what they were like what the idea was supposed to be with that.
I think I may have said this before on a podcast a long time ago, but the thing with summons in all of the 3D Final Fantasy games, that is 7 and onwards, is that it's very difficult to strike a balance between making them just powerful enough but not overpowered, and also keeping their animations reasonably manageable, something that you're going to put up with seeing a lot. Perhaps this isn't exactly so relevant to 15, but I don't think a lot of Final Fantasy games have really got summons right in terms of gameplay. Like in 12, I would never ever summon them. In 10, they're overpowered, etc. No thoughts on that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's worth noting that in Zodiac Age and IZGS, they did make some changes to the summons, to the espers, and they are a lot more powerful, a lot more useful.
Yeah, I've heard that. Okay, well, since we don't have any other feedback, this section will be quite short. Let's just conclude the show by asking our guests if they have any other business they'd like to bring up, perhaps some game that they've been playing and enjoying recently. It doesn't have to be a Final Fantasy game. I don't know, a movie they've seen or anything. What's been on your mind recently, guys?
Let's see. But I'm so busy with school and stuff. I haven't been posting on the forum very much. But
Spider-Man, Penny.
Awesome. I was gonna bring that up. And say Spider-Man or Wonder Woman was awesome. I loved it. And I'm not even a huge DC fan, but I was like, I'm so glad they finally made a movie that doesn't suck. But yeah, I am a very big Marvel fan, especially Spider-Man, and I really liked the movie. I loved Spider-Man Homecoming. My only real qualm was that the final confrontation with the Vulture seems like it ends very abruptly out of nowhere, and I'm just like I don't know, like the fight should have kept going, and then suddenly it just ends for a really strange reason. But other than that, I enjoyed it. I know that there are like diehard fans who have problems with certain things they did in the movie. There are certain things that I wish that they could have done and didn't do, but I understand why they did what they did. I can all blame Sony Pictures for being stupid and not just letting Spider-Man go when they should have.
I would call it like probably the best Spider-Man movie, and I used to be like a huge fan of the original movies, but to me they have not aged well.
Same. I feel the same way. Like, sorry.
Mostly because you're like the biggest Spider-Man fan on the forum, but
I don't know if I am. I think Kimball would be upset if he heard you say that, because he's like super into Spider-Man too.
Then you're like tied.
Okay, what was I to say? We're tied. Because I remember, the Remake trilogy when that came out. I was still in high school, and I remember just being excited that we had a live-action Spider-Man movie. I think I was more apologetic of those movies than anything, and the production value was really good. Like the battles were awesome. The final battle against the Green Goblin in the first movie was great. The train battle against Dr. Octopus, the second movie, was really great. The third movie was a clusterfuck. I've only seen it once and never gone back because it was like, I don't ever want to see this ever again. I feel like it was borderline ruining Spider-Man for me. But yeah, I tried rewatching both of those movies just a couple years ago as an adult, and I was like, these did not age well. And Tobey Maguire I'm like, he really isn't he's not Spider-Man. And people always say, oh, he's a good Peter Parker, but not Spider-Man. I'm like, actually, he's not really good either. Spider-Man's not a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde character. I do have to say that I think that I enjoyed Andrew Garfield a lot more than Tobey Maguire, but I do understand that he wasn't really nerdy enough. Tom Holland, I think, is the perfect balance. Like he's like the talkative, the way that like Peter Spider-Man should be, but he's still like nerdy, but not in like, I don't know how to describe it, but he's just with the characterization of Spider-Man in this movie, they got it right. Like he is.
He's not overly sarky, which Andrew Garfield was. I loved him, but I understand that that's not really what Peter Parker was. And Tobey Maguire was like super whiny, which is not what either Spider-Man or Peter Parker is supposed to be.
He never joked about anything. Like he was like a Spider-Man who didn't tell any jokes, and that's not right. And yeah, Andrew Garfield was like a little too cool. He did kind of come off as this kind of like a straight up asshole sometimes, which not exactly the best way to go either. But I did still enjoy him. Whereas I thought that Tobey Maguire kind of got awkward at times, where it's like, okay, now I feel like uncomfortable watching this movie. But Tom Holland was perfect. I thought that he was perfect. The way that he was written was perfect. Everything was his characterization in this movie was perfect. And he's a lot more believable of a teenage boy too.
Yeah, because he wasn't dirty. I think the original Spider-Man movies benefited for the fact that weren't really a lot of superhero movies at the time. The only other movies that were good were X-Men. But then, like, once the Christopher Nolan movies came out, like, it's a different world right now.
Yeah, I do have to give props to the original Sam Raimi trilogy with Tobey Maguire. I feel like probably are what primed the movie market for like the Marvel Cinematic Universe to even happen in the first place. I do question if those movies hadn't happened first, would we have all this now? Probably not. So you have to give credit where it's due. But they're not really movies. I think I still own the first two on DVD, but they're not movies that I go back and rewatch anymore.
Okay, I'm afraid I have nothing to add on the Spider-Man conversation. So, how about the men on this podcast who've been sitting quietly for the last few minutes? Lex, Tets, have you been playing anything interesting recently?
Okay, I'll just give a quick rundown of the media I have been enjoying recently, including gaming and TV shows and whatnot. Played through the Insane trilogy. That was awesome. Got all the platinums. Played through... I played through the Stormblood main story. That's been awesome. I recently joined a static for high-level progression raging. That's going swimmingly. I am also playing through the Zodiac Age, which is pretty cool. In terms of stuff I've been watching, today I watched the Blair Witch sequel, which I enjoyed because it's quite scary, even though as a movie it's a bit crap. But I like all the kind of deeper lore stuff. Because I kind of really liked the Blair Witch Project originally. I found it more of a psychological movie rather than a straight up horror. And it started a lot of trends that maybe people don't like, but I thought that was excellent. So Blair Witch is the name of the 2016 movie, which is kind of like a direct sequel to that, and it was faithful to a lot of like the original background stuff from the first movie, so that's pretty cool. What else have I done? I've been watching Orphan Black, which me and Carlie love together. And last week's episode is the best episode that show has had since its beginning. And I'm just completely in love with it, and I can't wait for the new episode to come out tomorrow to watch that. So what else have I been doing?
We should have recorded reactions because you guys would have been laughing because we spent the whole episode just because we knew something was gonna happen and we're like, it's gonna happen now. It's gonna happen now. For the past
couple of weeks, Carlie and I have been watching it together on Discord voice, so we've been hitting play at the same time and watching the episode. And last week was I think the first time where that's kind of been worth it because I was like, Carlie, it's gonna happen. Oh my god, what's she gonna do? And yeah, that show is amazing. I can't recommend it enough to anybody that likes good TV. It is a serial drama. It's sci-fi. It's fun. It's great. It has loads of different characters, and Tatiana Maslany is one of the best actresses. I can't recommend it enough. Everybody should go check it out. And I think that's it for me, to be honest. I'm not sure what other media I've been enjoying. Went on a bit of a Star Wars kick a couple of weeks ago and started rewatching, reaction videos to the Force Awakens trailers and stuff, and that's always good for a little emotion boost of short-term happiness.
Reaction trailers give me life. Like,
yes.
if you're having a shitty day, go watch some reaction trailers, and the people freaking out just makes everything so
Yes,
much
completely
better.
agree. And that prompted me to rewatch Rogue One and The Force Awakens. And I had a great time rewatching those as well. So that's me.
And Tets?
Well, I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn recently.
Ooh.
Not super far into it yet. Like, I'm kind of playing it on and off, and I kind of fear that I kind of ruined the game a little bit for myself, because the last game I played before that was Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And Breath of the Wild, to me, is like, I think to me that was like the best open world I've ever personally experienced in a game, and I just don't get the same kind of enjoyment out of the open world in Horizon. Like, it looks gorgeous, but it just doesn't really invite me for like exploration, finding neat little things here and there. I kind of miss that. There's like the sense of,
Yes, that's
I kind of
the
want to
same.
go back to Zelda.
That is definitely on my to playlist. I have like a million games I need to play, but I'm like, God, I really want to play Horizon Zero Dawn. It looks so good.
The combat is really fun in Horizon. Like, taking down all these weird robot animals and dinosaurs. Like, you have all kinds of shit you can do, like bows and arrows and like weird wire traps and, you know, wire casters where you can tie like these things down and then just attack them in close quarters. It's actually pretty fun. I'm just not enjoying the open world aspect that much, because the open world aspect is a little bit more generic with like, okay, here's your map and here's like 20,000 icons that point out every little thing you can do, and that's going to distract you from the main story of the game. It's a little bit of a checklist thing.
Do you feel like...
Yeah, I did.
Sorry, go ahead, Tenny.
I'll say I did play Horizon Zero Dawn at someone else's place for, I think I played it for like 20 minutes while I was waiting for them to do something. They're like, hey, I got this game. I think you'd like it. You should play it. I'm like, yeah, I've been wanting to play that game. And it was fun. I remember I did I thought it was pretty easy to pick up, because like he was already like halfway through the game. So I just kind of started fighting monsters, and I'm all like, I took my bow and arrow and I just killed that thing right in the eye socket. And I don't know, it was fun, but I need to actually get my own copy and sit down and play the story.
You guys are always going on about these AAA games, and I'm just here playing my little indie games. Like the other day, I bought a game called Pyre, Pyre. It's from Supergiant Games, who made Bastion and Transistor, which are both fantastic. And I've only got about an hour into this new game so far, because I've been playing a lot of 14. But again, the visuals and the audio are absolutely fantastic. Not entirely sold on the gameplay yet, but I think it's probably going to grow on me.
Well, at least I'm intrigued, because I mean, Bastion and Transit are those are great games.
Yeah. Transistor, I absolutely love. Bastion, I like. Transistor's my thing. Maybe because I'm like into programming and stuff, and it's all about that.
I should probably pick up more indie games. I know I have been meaning to play I Am Setsuna. Does that count?
Well, that's a Square Enix game, so no.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure, like, they could be publishing it, but who actually developed it?
I'm not entirely sure.
I think that was more of an indie developer set up for I Am Setsuna.
Okay. I'm also going to...
Because I did get... The trailer for that game definitely gave me a more of a Final Fantasy X vibe. So I was like, I should check this out.
I'm also going to give a shout out to the European Speedrunners Assembly. Some of you may know that I'm into my speedruns, and this is like the European equivalent of Games Done Quick. This is a bit smaller, but I always enjoy seeing some runners from my home country of Finland. This year they even had a game about Finland. It's called My Summer Car. Again, I think it's just a little indie title, probably about €10 on Steam or something. And it's this kind of ridiculously bad, good but bad sort of simulator game where you have to build up a car in the summer from like salvaging parts and stuff, and you can go around drinking beer and fighting with your neighbors. And it's basically a simulation of Finnish life. So please go check that out. I think Carlie's also wanted to add something before we wrap this up.
Yes. I haven't really been gaming outside of Stormblood. I'm supposed to finish Horizon, but I haven't. The most I've done is like finish shows that I hadn't finished. Brother Call Saul, finished season 2 that was on Netflix. Obviously, our friend Black that I've been watching with Lex. Mr. Robot. If you guys haven't watched it, you should. It's a great show. Movie-wise, there's a movie that I'm really looking forward to watching. It's Dunkirk, and I'm gonna see it tomorrow. I always been really fascinated with World War II. I know most people in America don't know about Dunkirk, but it's something that I've known for years, and that's an event that always fascinated me because had it gone a different way, that wouldn't ended World War II. I am worried that in the movie they're not going to show what the French did. But otherwise, I heard that like the movie is amazing.
I have heard some criticisms that, and like I'm not like I don't know if I knew about the whole situation of what happened or not. I feel like I've heard of it before, but at the same time, is that a real memory or is it whatever that thing is called where you believe like where you remember something that never actually happened? But I have heard some criticisms that there's like less representation of people who actually were there fighting, but they're not in the movie. And I don't really know the details. I haven't had a chance to read up on it yet, but that does look like a movie I want to check out.
Like it's not like, okay, this is a movie like showing the actual event. That's not. No, I'm pretty sure most of the characters in that movie are fictional characters, which I'm sorry would be something that will annoy a lot of people. But like the main criticism that I heard is that there's not enough dialogue. Christopher Nolan has been criticized recently for some of his most recent movie being like having a lot of exposition. So he went in the opposite direction in this movie, and it has a problem that you then don't care about the characters.
I see. Well, either way, I'll hopefully see that eventually.
If you can see it in IMAX, that would. I don't have the option. There's only like one IMAX movie theater in the whole island, which annoys me, and it's in the East Coast, which I would have to travel 2.5 hours to see a movie. I'm not gonna do that. But if you have the opportunity to see it in IMAX, I heard it's amazing.
Okay, I'll have to do that. Yeah, I do enjoy movies in IMAX, although they can be really expensive sometimes. But that just reminded me of something completely different. When I went to go see like Spider-Man Homecoming the first time, because I've seen it twice now, I was in Seattle visiting a friend of mine who lives there, and she bought us tickets because I was there on like the opening day. And so she bought tickets to what she thought was the IMAX showing, but it was this weird thing called 4DX, where like your seat moves and it like mists water and blows air, and there's like these weird things that like slap your legs or whatever. So like you could be sitting there if like, the movie had a quiet moment, and you kind of forget about it. Then all of a sudden he would like start web swinging, and your chair would like try to throw you out of it. And I was like, what the hell is this? I don't like this anymore. Like it very nearly came close to ruining the entire experience for me. I was wanting to get up and walk out because I was like, I can't take my fucking chair trying to throw me out of it all the time.
I've experienced that once.
It's supposed to be like get you more involved in the movie. It's just a gimmick and it's stupid.
It is stupid. I had actually never heard of it before. Like, I don't know if we have any theaters that have 4DX here. And so like when I was with my friend, that was the first time I'd ever even known that this was a thing. Like, I know that like they have like amusement park rides where you're like watching a projection of a roller coaster and your seat moves like you're in the roller coaster. Okay, that's fine. But I'm watching a normal movie. I just want to watch the movie. I don't want my seat to move.
I don't think it was called 4DX, but way back in like the mid-90s, I was at Epcot in Disney World, Florida, and they had something there called Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, and it was a kind of a spin-off of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, where you get, shrunk in the film, and then you get all these similar effects of like mice running across your feet and water spraying into your face and stuff like that.
We see that's a different, because it's basically an amusement park ride where because we're like here, I feel like most people would refer to this as like a mystery mine ride because at the Mall of America, there, I don't know if it's still there anymore, but it was like you were in like a mining cart in this shaft, and so your seat would move as your mining cart was going down the tracks. And then I remember when one year at the state fair, they had this thing you could go into where it was like a roller coaster or something, and your seat would move. And so it was like trying to simulate being in a mine. So they referred to it as a mystery mine ride, but I don't think that's the actual term. I think it was just what you were watching. But that was the intent. Like you are watching, you were in a roller coaster, and your seat is moving like you were on a roller coaster or in the mine, whatever. Like you weren't just in a normal theater watching a normal movie, and then your seat tries to throw you out because it's trying to simulate Spider-Man web swinging. It's a completely different experience, and it was awful.
On that note, hopefully this show hasn't been awful, but I think it's time to wrap it up. You can tune in for more Spider-Man discussion next week. In 2 weeks' time, sorry.
Probably not.
So yes, all that remains is for me to thank everyone very much for listening. I'll remind you that our email address, if you'd like to write into us, is lifestreampod@gmail.com. Also, we'd love it if you would leave us a review on iTunes, or you can leave a comment on YouTube when this episode goes up, or on our front page, or of course sign up to our forum and get to know us a bit better. Now, I haven't thought of a sign-off line for my first time hosting, so I'm just going to go with Vader's old classic.
Yeah. Oh crap.
I don't remember exactly, but it was like, take care and always protect the crystals.
Bye.
I think that is it.
Bye.